call me the water lady. My platform really is environment, which is mostly focusing on the water sector. I usually have like a water setting, like, the ocean behind me, and people will be like, oh, that's the water lady.
The fact that we are not using ocean water, it doesn't mean that we cannot use it, but of course we need to be able to separate the real water and separate it from the salt. So we need to desalinate the water. I think in China there's some places people can just throw some nitrogen in the air and rain will fall. So we have gone beyond the idea that we cannot do this. We can do this. We can do it far away. People can shoot rocket into the space.
32 seconds into the flight. 3 liquid fuel main engines. Soon will throttle back with 72% of rated performance down in the bucket, reducing the...
Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us in today's episode of the Obehi Podcast. We talk a lot about storytelling, talking to founder, talking to business owner, and understanding what they are doing, what is their vision, what is the reason behind what they do, and what is their story actually, what are they trying to change in the world. So today I have the honor of interviewing or sharing the space with Lady Lumbie. Lumbie, could you please tell the people who you are? This is where we're going to start today.
I'm so glad you asked, because they call me the water lady because that's my nickname. They gave me that nickname and I love it because I focus, my platform really is environment, which is mostly focusing on the water sector. So because my company works on water, providing access to clean water in communities without, because people count the number of times I say water when I'm talking about anything in the interviews or in anything. So they named me the water lady.
I see. The water lady. Well,
Yes.
that is really interesting. Of course, we're going to be talking about your company just now. Well, first, let's try to understand you even, because that is very important. We try to connect first with the individual, then before we talk about what they do. So if you were to peel the curtain a little bit back now, looking at you growing up as a young lady, what would you say about yourself and about where you are growing up?
Well, I would say, look at yourself. You're young, vibrant, and exposed to, how you should do things, how you should be yourself, how you should conduct yourself, how you should respect others, how you should not judge anyone, how you should always be proud of yourself and always be proud of your values. And I would say I'm very fortunate to have the parents who love me so dearly and who taught me to not embrace the shiny things, the shiny objects in life, to always be thankful, to always be grateful, to always go after my dreams and goals and be who I am, to discover who I am, and just find out who is Lumbie out there in the world and be a giver.
All
So
right.
that's what I would say.
Okay, that's interesting. So, Lumbie, where did you grow up?
I grew up feeling very loved, to be honest with you. Um, I grew up just thinking that everything revolved around me because of the kind of love that I had. Coming from a big family of 11, and being the youngest of the 11, I think I was very, very much loved, to be honest with you. And I always embraced that. I love my parents. They're no longer alive, but I love how they raised me to be selfless. And people thought I was spoiled growing up, but they soon realized that I wasn't, because I turned out to be someone totally different. Someone, I surprised myself. I grew up, in the countryside, with very little that was, given to us, because my father was an orphan and he never went to school. And my mother was an educator. He taught my dad how to read and write. And growing up, I was often told that it is important to have education. And my dad, of all the people who never went to school, of course, is one who stressed on everybody, all of us going to school and obtaining as many degrees as we could get. I never understood why that many degrees, but I found myself just going to school, just getting the degrees because he didn't know what degrees were. He just wanted us to get as many as we could. Unfortunately, I only got 2, but I'm
But
sure that
but
he would have told
two
me
are
go
not
back to school.
small. Those are not few. It's difficult to even get one. You have 2. That is a lot.
I know. I know. I just picked. I mean, I loved mathematics a lot, so I minored in mathematics, and I loved computer science. So I majored in computer science. So when I told him that I graduated in those, and he was very proud, he says, "Go back to school and
That's
get all
lovely.
of them."
That's lovely.
I was like, "Oh, no, 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 no."
But what,
Yeah.
what was
So
influencing you in mathematics? Who was influencing you around you in the years that you were growing up now? We also want to learn about what is the city? What is the name of this place that you grew up?
well, okay. I grew up in Zimbabwe. But I can't really say that I grew up in Zimbabwe, to be honest with you. I was born in Zimbabwe, and that's where I actually got all my values and my upbringing, from that environment, you know, um, very humble beginnings. I'm always very appreciative of my early years as a young girl growing up, with very little around me, and always being taught to not think about myself, but to think about others around me, so that I became a giver, whether I had anything or not, just became a giver. Um, but then I later moved to the US because all of my family were here. My siblings were here. So I came here when I was very young and settled here. And so I call this home. Um, I just tend to look back, and because I always appreciate, where I came from. I never forget where I came from, you know. Um, so I always look back and try to do my best to help the people that I feel would benefit, you know, from whatever little I have,
Yeah, right. All right.
because regardless, I have African roots and I'm African by birth. So yeah, that's who I am.
I would like you to say something about why you were saying you grew up in Zimbabwe. You can't say you grew up in Zimbabwe. So I don't know if there is anything behind that you want to share with us.
Yeah, the setting is because I usually have like a water setting, like, the ocean behind me, and people will be like, "Oh, that's a water lady." But then I love the snow, you know, the snowfall, because when it snows, it's so beautiful outside. It just gives you like this kind of peaceful feeling, you know. And I love to play. I play in the snow because it's just so just beautiful, precious. I just love it. So I decided to put this as my backdrop. You know, um, if it's not water, it's gonna be snow.
All right, that's cool. That's cool. That's cool. Water is good. Water is good.
Yeah,
The famous Nigerian singer, artist, Fela Anikulapo Kuti will say, "Water has no enemy. If you are alive, you must be friendly with water. Otherwise, you are going to die because you need it all the time." So,
exactly. He's right. He's right about that. I love that because I mean, who can really live without water? I mean, honestly,
that's
you know,
true.
you don't realize how much we need water until you don't have it. That time when you don't have water, like, oh my gosh, how am I going to live without it? It's impossible.
Yeah, that's so true. It's impossible.
Yeah.
All right, Luby, tell me, what kind of thing are you doing? What is your business? What is your company about?
I'm so glad you asked that question. Um, it's about water, obviously. It's about water because I always think about the communities that don't have access to clean water at all. And because it's one thing to have water, but if it's dirty and you can't drink it and you can't do nothing with it, then it's the same as not having it, right? Because everybody must have clean water. So um, it's like growing up, I, you know, I participated in those activities as a young girl of walking like distances, carrying water buckets on my head and on my hands, you know, fetching water from a dam or wherever it was, you know. And it's only that these days I see the same thing still happening. The only difference now is that women and girls walk long distances, 18 miles a day, like 9 miles that way, 9 miles back. And I'm thinking, when is this going to end? I never walked that long when I was young. I walked maybe like 1 mile or 2 miles, with water bucket on my head. But to walk like 19 miles, and that's a lot, because it's like water sources are drying, wherever they are, wherever these communities are, they can't find water no more. So my company makes sure that I use like technology, anything technology driven. With my background in technology, of course, I try to tap into that and do my best to make sure that these communities have access to clean water in their communities or close enough so that they don't have to walk far, because when they walk so far, women are assaulted, girls as well, and women cannot economically participate in uplifting themselves. And girls skip from going to school because what time really do they have to go to school if they have to fetch water the whole day? So when do they go to school? So I thought that was kind of robbing young girls from education. So I said, what can I do to help? If there's something that I can do that would probably make my father proud, will be making sure that I give those girls back time, give them back their time so they can go to school.
All right.
Get educated. Yeah.
So this community that you are referring to, is it like you are working in a specific community or in different kinds of community? Could you say something more about that?
Different kinds of communities, because there's so many communities without water, right? So it cannot be just one community. So it's several communities.
Right. But how did this idea came about? Okay, we understand now that you love water. You are the water lady. Lumbie, the water lady, right?
Yes.
Tell us your love with water. What is really... Okay, we understand generally, and without even going deep, that we all should love water. No doubt about that, because without it, we will die, literally. But something must be connecting you in a particular way that you are referred to as a lady water and you are focusing on water. Is there anything that you can share with us in line with that?
Yeah. You'll be surprised to know that being a water lady myself, that I can't even swim. I can't swim at all.
That is interesting.
And
The next time that
afraid
I'm
of
going to, I will threaten you. I'll put you to the water. So let's say, the water lady, can you swim? I'm joking. Just go on.
That'll be something else. I cannot swim at all. In fact, I'm very afraid of water. Put me in the water, I like panic and just freak out. I'm so afraid of water. But it's funny that I'm a water lady, in a sense, a different way, not just swimming or anything. I've tried to learn how to swim, and I've talked myself out of it. That if I did, I'll probably drown and die. So I'm just afraid of learning how to swim, and I just don't think I can be taught how to swim. I strongly believe that I'm not teachable at all, because those who've tried have given up. So I think I'll probably die without knowing how to swim. And maybe that's my love for water, to say, let me focus on something that I'm afraid of. You know what I mean? Something that I'm afraid of, but that is so precious and that is so, it's a human right. Because water is a human right. Without it, you can't live without it. So maybe it's okay to be afraid of water and to respect it but to appreciate it at the same time. I'm okay with that. I've made up my mind that I'm okay being afraid of water, however, also loving it at the same time.
Nobody can contest that with you. That is okay.
Yeah.
All right. So can you tell me, like, how does this company work? The company that you run, how does it work with water and with the people that you serve?
So pretty much people come to us, seeking for help, right? Because we are a nonprofit organization. So they come to us, and then we assess, their request. We assess the impact, and most of the times, if it doesn't serve women or girls, which is very rare, by the way, because women and girls are the main collectors of water, right? So most of the times, we make sure that, when they come to us, that it serves women and girls. And then we go out there and do our own assessment. And then if it's something that we can do, then we start finding ways to provide water. Because sometimes we can drill, right? We can drill boreholes, but not all the time can we drill boreholes. So when we cannot drill boreholes, that's when we turn into like technology. What kind of technology can we install or can we construct in that area that would produce water? So that's what we do. And it takes us a while to do that because everything relies on donations, just like you see on the page right there. Everything relies on donations. So if there are no donations, it's hard for us to do work because, I am not a wealthy person. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not a wealthy person. I'm just like anybody out there. So my company seeks donations for a particular project, then we'll go and do it.
All right. So tell us about the image of this gentleman that we are seeing there in the picture.
That is the Mr. J.B. Dondolo himself, my father, right there. That's the orphan I was telling you about. Very humble man who appreciated life and appreciated people, who is the reason for this organization, why it exists. I named the organization after him so that it serves as a constant reminder why I'm doing this in the first place. So that when I feel like giving up, I'll remember that my dad never gave up. He never gave up hope. He never gave up on anything. So it serves as a constant reminder of that.
All right, thank you. Now, is there, can you give us, because you were making mention of studies that you did before, I think maybe about the community, about need assessment, maybe something like that. Can you feed us with some data about the work that you are doing?
Yeah. So, so the assessments have to do with, like surveying the land, sending people that know more about what to look for, like on the ground or below the ground or above ground, who can tell us what kind of systems we can construct. Because we don't just go in and start digging or drilling, because you have to understand more about the land itself. The land formation, is it a dry region? Is it a region that when we drill, we can find water? Or do we have to source water above ground? So, which is why we're coming up with technological ways to find water. If we cannot find water underground, then we can find water above ground. So the system that we're building right now is a new innovation for water. It's called Climate H2O. Why? Because it's a dual system. Either you find water from the heat and produce water from the heat, and then that's what people do use on a daily basis, is a primary source of water. Or when it rains, you capture the rain, that rainwater, and store it in tanks so that people can use that on a rainy day. Whether the tanks are above ground or below ground, it's up to the people what they want. So that's what I meant by that. That assessment is very important because it tells us exactly how we're going to build the systems, the water systems in those communities.
So how do you pick a community that you want to work in? Is it like somebody will make a request to you, or do you pick this community because you hear about them or things like that?
Most of the times, people send requests to us. We don't know about these communities. We don't even, do you know, we get so many requests a day? It's ridiculous. We just assess those requests and let them know when we're going to get there. Most of the times we can't even get to them because there's so many requests ahead of us. We can't ignore the requests that have been sent already. So it's like a backlog in a way. So we never seek any projects. There's so many out there, so many.
Okay. And it appeared that, because I was looking at your website just now, let me see if I can pull it out. It appeared that you are working in different locations, not only just in Zimbabwe. I see there is map there that shows maybe also in Nigeria or something like that. Could you expand more on that? Where exactly are you working? And if you could maybe talk more about the extent of work that you are doing in these places.
Yeah, it's also the same thing, really. Providing access to clean water. Most of these places don't have, clean water at all. So it's really about helping the women. Like in Nigeria, we have a team down there. We've done some work with them, planted some trees, collaborated with an organization called Eki Connect, planted some trees at the university in Nigeria. I can't remember if it's, can't remember the name of the university, but we planted some trees there. We've done collaborated also with an SDG company there that also has allowed us to work with women and girls, who need clean water. So we have a team down there in Nigeria. And also we did something in Sierra Leone. I believe, that was Sierra Leone. We started something there, but it just didn't materialize because they were not ready. They were not ready for us to begin. So that project is currently on hold. We're also in South Africa, where we are building the new technology, the innovation that I was talking about. The climate H2O is being created in South Africa because we're gonna build it there with the University of Johannesburg in South Africa with some experts. Pilot tested there. So this year is a year when it's gonna come out. That technology is gonna come out. We're pilot tested there, and we're gonna implement it there and see how it works in South Africa for the South African people, and help communities there. And then we can think about taking it to other countries, Zimbabwe, Nigeria, any country that needs it, to see how we can help serve the people.
Okay, can you share with me the scale of work that you do in terms of the result that you see at the end of the day? Because now we are, let's say Zimbabwe or Nigeria or South Africa. These are really a huge country, particularly South Africa and Nigeria. So I wouldn't know what is the extent of work that you do? What is the capacity of the work at the end of the day? Can you share something in line with that?
Yeah, so it's a lot of work because we tend to work with a lot of interns here, because interns help us a lot. They learn. We also learn from interns. That's a good thing about that. Just like with this new innovation, Climate H2O, it's a result of, input from the interns. We listened, we took their constructive feedback, and we created something out of it. So, so our workload is a lot of work because we also have board members, board of directors, working. Everybody's working. Volunteers, all kinds of people from all over the world, come in and help. So, we're always looking for volunteers and interns. This season, we desperately need more interns just to come in and help us with a lot of work that we have.
Okay. Now, let's say you pick a community in Nigeria. Let's say a small part of Edo State, which is where I'm coming from. Let's say Asa, for example. That is a population now of about 1.5 million people. Let's say you are going to be maybe doing your service there. What would you do At the end of the day, how many people will be able to access this water? In what way will it be distributed? If distribution is part of the work that you do, or if it's just a question of taking out the water, then the people can come to get the water from there. So I'm trying to understand the extent of the work and how the people eventually get the water at the end of the day in their house.
Okay. So they don't get water in their house. It's communities that we serve. It's communities in the rural areas that we serve, not the city. No, not in the city. We look out for the people in rural areas who have to walk miles and miles to fetch water. So we make sure that we don't serve just one person, because a community can have like 8,000 people, 32,000, So we construct a system for the community so that people have access to it. It is central to that community, but it's within the community, so that all they have to do is maybe walk like 5 minutes or 10 minutes a day to get that water. So we don't like give people like handout unless it's a situation where there's absolutely no water at all, and people need like a relief, right? Then we'll hand out like water bottles, but we don't really work like that at all. We try to install systems that are sustainable, so that people can use those while we're gone. They continue to use them. They continue to maintain them themselves, and we're there. We're there to help them if they need us. But it's their system. It's within their community. It's up to them to take care of it, to make sure that it lasts a long time.
Okay, so in more practical term, what would you say, or where would you say you have done the work that remain more in your mind? You are very proud of. You say, okay, this is the work that I love most. Whether based on the people reaction, based on the result at the end of the day. Maybe when was that? Could you share with us?
Yeah, that was several places actually. Here in the US as well. I felt like we're so proud during COVID-19. I felt like we're so proud to serve the Navajo Nation, because when you compare the Navajo Nation to, say, African communities, no difference at all. There's so much striking similarities in how women fetch water, women and girls, how they walk miles to fetch water, how dangerous the terrain is, and how far behind they left, and how many girls lack in schools, and how far women lack when it comes to uplifting themselves and everything like that. So I felt like we're so proud during COVID-19 to serve the Navajo Nation. Also, Skid Row. There's a place called Skid Row, California, serving 10,000 homeless people, unhoused population, without any sanitation, without any hygiene items. We provided them hygiene items. We collaborated with some organizations in California to make sure that Skid Row, California, got sanitation products, hygiene products, and also extremely proud to have served communities in Africa, in Zimbabwe. We served a clinic that didn't have any water at all, and a school serving 500 students that didn't have any water at all. I'm so proud to have restored dignity in the community and dignity in the schools. I'm so proud that the girls now go to school just like boys. They get educated, and that the clinic now has water, and that clinic serves more than 20,000 people. And I'm so proud that we did that.
Thank you so much for that. Thank you for your good work. Thank you for the effort that you're making in the world.
Thank you very much.
Now, how much does it take to make this intervention? Say maybe, for example, you decided in a place in Ethiopia or in Tanzania, you are going to intervene. And now you make a calculation of everything that you are going to do from when you decide this to when the people are going to be having access to water. And in what capacity are they going to get this water? I think I need a little bit more clarity on that. Is it that you're going to seek this borehole? It will be in a physical location and the people will go to walk there to fetch the water. Could you expand more on that? And also, what is the cost of doing that?
Oh my gosh. It costs a lot of money actually doing that. Which is why we're coming up with this technology, because boreholes cost a lot of money, because you can drill even when you have assessed and done your survey, you know exactly where the water is going to be, right? But when you get there, you find yourself drilling and not finding water. But the cost of actually drilling and then putting the pipe casing to protect that, that borehole in case there's ever any water, and just also to protect it anyway, because you always have to make sure that you protect the land. You don't want to leave the the environment. You don't want to harm the environment or the land. So it costs a lot of money. You can drill several areas, maybe 2 or 3 times. It costs money. You may find that you spent like maybe 12,000 drilling, 12,000 US drilling and not finding anything, but you spend money. So it costs a lot of money to drill a borehole, because nothing is guaranteed. Water tends to move, underground. So sometimes we think we spot the water exactly where it is, but because it moves constantly, you can never be precisely sure sometimes that where you're drilling is where the water is. That is the problem right there.
Can you tell me about that movement? I'm curious. It means like maybe, for example, you put your instrument, you measure, you see that the water is there in certain altitude. Is that even what you call it? Is a certain spot, and then you start drilling, then the water is going to disappear from there to another place. Is that the movement you are referring to?
Not really. It doesn't really disappear. When we're sensing or when we're sighting for water, it appears to the engineer that the water is right here using their instruments. But they drill, we drill, we cannot find water. Maybe it means that we need to drill further, we'll find water. But we rarely drill too much further because we want to protect the ground. Because drilling too much is not good for the environment, as you know. So we don't want to be in that habit of just drilling for the sake of trying to find water. We tell ourselves that we're going to drill this far down. If we cannot find water at that point, we're not drilling anymore. We quit and protect that, the space where we've drilled, from any further harm.
Let's take a moment to understand that. What kind of harm are we talking about in this drillage of maybe you are getting water? Because now that would open up a very big box of its own now, because now we're talking about drilling water, but we can also talk about drilling oil, because oil is found in many parts of Africa. And when people come to drill this oil, they're not really very careful of how they operate, no? And they leave a lot of hole on the ground, a lot of geological and ecological disasters on the ground. And somebody think, well, there is not going to be consequence, but there's going to be consequence. So looking at this particular drilling, what kind of harm, what kind of consequence ecologically are we talking about here?
Well, first of all, you want to leave the land the way we found it, right? Or want to leave the environment in a better way. When we drill so much, sometimes we are introducing other dangers to ourselves. It could be just anything like the sinkholes. You make the ground so vulnerable to a lot of dangers. You hear people say that there's been so much drilling in this area. Now there's so many earthquakes, right? So it could be anything like that. Or you drill, you're damaging like the trees that grow there. Maybe no longer grow, vegetation, stuff like that. It's just not a good thing. Like all the things that you mentioned are part of them. Because if we do everything right, we plant trees, There's so much vegetation around us. There should not be any issues with finding water. But when we start cutting down trees, for example, we're damaging the environment, right? So we always want to make sure that there's something growing there. You cannot find water in a desert. We agree on that, right? So if you leave the land looking like a desert, you'll never find anything there. You always want to make sure that there's stuff growing there, plants, trees, whatever, there's vegetation, because it's easier to find water, or it's easier to farm when you know the stuff that grows there.
All right, this is a part that probably some persons haven't thought a lot about, because somebody could ask, but how come we don't drill in the desert? Maybe because there are lesser people there, to be precise. But since the water we are talking about is not really on the surface, is down in the earth crust, in the deeper part of the earth, does having a vegetation on top of it affect the water that is under? Could you explain that part to us?
Oh yeah. Usually when there's stuff growing there, we kind of know that there's gotta be water, right? Because trees don't just grow out of nothing. There's some trees which grow without water, but it's maybe very little water. But on the most part, anything that grows, there's water that is feeding it. Grass becomes green, just like when it rains. Vegetation gets very green, right? Everywhere. You know that the water is sinking down somewhere. There are aquifers down there. So when you drill in an area like that, you're likely to find water. You may not find it the first time of drilling, but you have to keep trying. But in our case, we've decided that, we really don't want to be in a business of drilling, because it becomes costly and it's not sustainable. Because when you drill a borehole, well, let me just say, construct a water well or something like that, because a lot of people don't know what boreholes are. For the sake of people understanding what a borehole is, think of it as a well, okay? A basin, water basin that is underground. So we don't want to be in that business of drilling, because it's harmful to the environment, which is why we're leaning towards technological innovations like climate H2O that I'm talking about, that is coming out this year. Our own innovation with the University of Johannesburg and the engineers, the Zonaka engineering company, because we want to be able to find water different ways. These days, technology is teaching us so many things that we can do, so many ways of doing things. We can solve this water problem by not damaging the environment. We can solve this water problem using technology, above ground water systems that create water, maybe from the heat or from the sun, or whichever way you call it, from the moisture, or maybe when it rains, they capture that rain and store it in tanks for a rainy day. So that's what we want to be into.
All right.
We're leaning towards that rather than digging.
Could you expand more on that? Because I'm interested in whether that is only limited to a very small community, or maybe can that also be effective for a city, for example? Because water is a vital argument in this century and in the centuries that are going to come. Because we haven't developed enough technology to be able to. It's not that it's really lack of water in the world. There is no lack of water, because the world is made up of more than 70 or 75% thereabout of water. Mm-hmm. So the fact that we are not using ocean water doesn't mean that we cannot use it. But of course, we need to be able to separate the real water and separate it from the salt. So we need to desalinate the water. Which means we need technology that is going to help us to do that. It's not that there is no water. There are water everywhere. So how do we really make that technology work for us? You are talking of maybe no longer drilling, but being able to take advantage of the water that is on the surface. But that water on the surface, maybe not the river now, can it sustain a city, for example? Talking of the seaway, talking of the flushing of the toilet, talking of the irrigation. Can that type of water that we tap on the surface be enough for that kind of work?
That's a good question. That's a very good question. I like how you said that the water there's a lot of water everywhere, because the whole world is made of, our bodies are made up of like almost 80% of water, right? And also, just the world itself, we're sitting on this surface of water. The problem is that we cannot access that water. That is the problem. How do people access that water that is underground? And sometimes the aquifers are so deep down there. Sometimes the aquifers are dry because maybe water is moving somewhere else. You see? So that is a problem, is the access to that clean water. Because sometimes you have water, but it's dirty. How do you clean it up? So it's about cleaning up that water so that people can use it, so they can drink it, they can use it for cooking, right? And to your point again, you're talking about the new technologies. Can they supply like the whole city? I don't know that. We'll find out. It's all about testing, right? Like we're going to pilot test our innovation to find out if we can sustain a certain number of people and configure it in such a way that we say, okay, in order for this system to supply maybe 3,000 people, it has to be calibrated this way, this way, this way. To supply 15,000 people, it has to be calibrated this way, this way, this way. We don't know that until we test, until we deploy it in those communities and test some more and refine it, fine-tune it until it serves everybody.
All right, you are the lady of water. So I think you are the. Somebody can also say, well, let's ask you the question. For the fact that we are not using, like I was saying before, there is a lot of water on the surface. There's also a lot of water on the ground. There is a lot of water also in the atmosphere, which is to say we are not lack of water. So that all we just need is the right technology to be able to tap those water and make it accessible to the people. The water is not accessible. That is what you said, no? In fact, some people have speculated that some of the big water we're going to fight in the future are going to be based on water. But I'm saying, why do we fight over water if we have water everywhere? We just need to develop the technology. Then there's no need for the war. So are we unable to develop the right technology to be able to help us take advantage of the water around us? By water around us, I mean, most of the countries in the world are living beside the ocean. For example, like Lagos or many of Johannesburg, or many of these cities are by the water side, just at the ocean. So that all we just need is to take that water and take it to the city. Everybody will have access to it. But of course, between where you take, which is a source, and the people that need to be a machine that filter this water and make it consumable. The question therefore is, are we incapable of developing that kind of technology? Or it's just because it is not market viable? In the sense that if we make it available, then it doesn't have much, we don't make a lot of money for it because the water is everywhere. What do you say about that?
You just touched on a very, very, very big topic right there. And very important one is that the technologies are there. They're already there. But we are thinking of how we make money first. That is a problem. If we're focusing on how do I make money out of this technology that I've created that I know is going to help people, and then you place like a huge amount on that technology, people can buy it. This technology is not getting out there to serve the people because we're thinking about ourselves first. So my organization is saying, we're not going to do that. We don't want to do that. We want to think of the people first. People first, money second. So we're creating a technology that is either cost-free or inexpensive for people, affordable. It doesn't sit on the shelves collecting dust because it's too expensive for people. So we're creating a technology that will serve the people who need it the most. So the reason why a lot of these technologies are not out there again is because they're expensive. Nobody can afford them because the companies who are producing them are thinking of themselves first, putting a high dollar value on those technologies.
I don't think the expensive is actually a good justification for why those technology are not available to the people. Because now, if you look at how much the United States alone spend on war, you then will come to see that it is not really because it is expensive to build those technology, because they spend billions and billions of dollars every now and then in killing people. Now, if we can develop that, then of course we can develop it. Now, talking of the development of technology, because if we know that water is made up of different components, hydrogen, oxygen, you say H2O technology. With me, we can even disintegrate the element that we're talking about here. With me, we are not capable of understanding what to do. I think in China, in some places, people can just throw some nitrogen in the air and rain will fall. So we have gone beyond the idea that we cannot do this. We can do this. We can do it far away. People can shoot rocket into the space. If we can develop that type of technology, then it is not too expensive to desalinate the ocean water. We don't have the technology, then we build it. That is cheaper than building a nuclear bomb. If we can build nuclear bomb, then we can build a technology that can help us to live better. I think maybe I'm overhyping it.
You know what, Obehi? If people thought like you, were thinking like you and I, we will not have this problem today with clean water. You and I are thinking the right way. Most of the people are thinking money. How do I make money? That's what they're thinking about. It's greed. Greed is what is causing the problem. If people are just thinking about, okay, I don't want people to benefit and I don't benefit. I want to make money out of this. Out of poor people, how poor people are going to afford to buy this thing? Honestly, a lot of people are not wealthy. They don't have money. So how do we serve them?
All right. That's a good question. How do we serve them? That is why we have people like you who are putting their time there to be able to help people to understand.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I believe that if we keep pushing, we will find the answer one day. All right.
It's a shift in mindset. Shift in mindset. That says customers first and whoever's doing it is second. Like finances, like money second. Customer first, money second.
I agree.
Instead of money first, customer second.
I agree with you. Mm-hmm. Now, tell me, Lumbie, what do you see in the future in terms of the work that you are doing? Tell me how this company will be in relation to the services that you are rendering to the people, say maybe in the next 15, 20 years. What do you see?
Well, I see us, serving our customers better ways using technology efficiently and creating more innovations that are affordable, accessible, and inclusive. And creating also ways to educate people about water, how they can help themselves, and how they can be self-sufficient without relying on companies, but kind of becoming free and becoming innovators themselves.
All right. Dear Lumbie, Lady of Water, thank you so much. It has been a pleasure talking with you here. And of course, for all of you that have listened to the end of this conversation, this is for everybody. We all need water, like Fela said, of blessed memory. Water has no enemy. So if you can contribute to the work that Lumbie is doing, please reach out to her. Lumbie, how can people reach out to you? Tell them.
Yeah, it's very simple. I'm available on social media under my name, Lumbie Mlambo, combined at Lumbie Mlambo. Or you can go to our website, www.jbdondolo.org, and contact us from there.
All right, that is simple. So we look forward to you. Also, let us know your thoughts in the conversation. Maybe you agree with us. Maybe you don't need to agree with us. Just say your mind. Let us know also what you think from where you are seeing it. And if you are not yet subscribed to this channel, we ask you to do that. We bring you information that can be helpful to you and your community. So make sure you subscribe to this channel and also share with the people Why not? It costs you nothing. Share with other people that can benefit from it too. Thank you so much for listening. And thank you so much, Lumbie.
Thank you very much for having me on here. I greatly appreciate